Hello, I'm Jenny. Welcome to my channel where we focus on using ordinary materials to make beautiful things. So today I want to show you my take on something I saw Pam at the Paper Outpost do, and I will link her video down in the description box so that you can take a look at what she did. In her video, she used round punches. She punched out paper, she punched out book pages and glued them together to make about a 2-inch circle little notebook, and she put it together with a brad. And so I thought that was a cool idea. I don't have a 2-inch punch, but I have a lot of other things that are just kind of ordinary things lying around. So I thought I would try some of those, and so I'm going to show you some of the ones I've already made. I've had a really good time making them. I've been playing with them. As you can see, I have 5 already done, and I have another one that we're going to make today on camera, so I can show you what I did. Oops, that's out of place. So the first thing I did is I have these little they're cardstock. They're kind of just, they're die cut with rounded corners. I have had them for many, many years, so I'm not really sure where I got them. Probably some secondhand store. I have a box of them. They're in different colors. So just if you have cardstock, you could cut your own. I don't have a corner rounder, but if you do, you could do that. You could do it square. It wouldn't matter. So with this one, that became these. So those are cute little, it makes kind of a cute little notebook. She used hers as a little notebook. So there's journaling space on the back. And so I used, to decorate those, I used some pattern pieces. So you can see this is from a pattern. It says Transfer for Simplicity Pattern 9891, Part 3. It's probably circa 1980 something. So it's just an old pattern I had, and I just simply applied it to the card like you would a napkin, just with a little bit of glue stick, and just smoothed it down. And then I went back with markers and colored in the flowers. And then I just used some washi tape, and I put some grungy ink. Oh, I did not stick this washi tape down with glue, and I should have. So sometimes I think, oh, the washi tape will stay without glue. Well, sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. So I need to go back and re-stick this with glue. So learn from my mistake. If you use washi tape, just add a little bit of glue to it just to make sure it sticks. Some of the washi tape is super sticky, which is cool. But this one is kind of an older one, and I think the sticky is going, so it just needs a little bit of glue on it. But it was really simple. So I just took this, I decorated the cards, and then I punched a little hole, and I just put a little brad through it. Let me grab the brads. So I just put a little brad like this through it. They're kind of short. Oops, I'm dropping things. They're kind of short. So if you have a longer one, you could probably cut it off. Just be sure that you check the edges to see if they're sharp. So you wouldn't want that. You might need to sand the edges a little bit, or you could put a little bit of wax. Like if you ran a wax candle on it, that might keep them from being sharp. So that was that one. That was the first one I did. Then I thought, gee, what else do I have? I'm sure I have other things. So I dug around in my stash, and I found these silly little playing cards. They're kind of smallish playing cards with happy faces on them, and as cute as they are to play with, I don't ever play with them. So I decided that they would make a good set of little cards. So these I actually put some paper on the back. On the other ones, I just left them blank because they were just blank cards, and I did the edges with the Distress ink. And on these, I did the edges in Distress ink. I used a fun color, but I put some coffee dyed paper on the back for journaling cards. And the front, I decoupaged on. Of course, I wanted to cover up all that shiny smiley face stuff. So I glued on some music paper and used my distress ink on that. And then these are just little cutouts from a calendar that I had, oh gosh, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago maybe. So when you look at the back of the calendar and it shows you the little squares of what each month looks like, that's what these are. So they make really great little decorations on something small like a journaling card. So the calendar pages, of course, were very large, and I have a couple of those left, but I've used almost all of those because they were really pretty. But I had those small ones, so I just cut them out with some fancy scissors. I added a little washi tape on these. This one I actually stuck down with some glue, so they didn't come loose like the first set did. Although that one did just now, just because I said it didn't. It did, of course. So I have a love-hate relationship with washi tape. I love it, but sometimes I struggle to get it to stay down. So sometimes I forget that I need to put glue on it, and so then I have to go back and re-glue and things like that. But this is really cute. So it's kind of a little windmill effect. It looks like, it reminds me of one of those whirly things that you blow and the wind turns, you know, or when we were kids, you'd run with it and it would turn. Kind of reminds me of that. So, but that was fun. So I had those little cards, and this one you can see I cut the brad off. I only had a few of the short brads, and I didn't find those until after I had made the first couple. So I cut this one off, and I sanded it a little bit so it wouldn't be sharp. So I just used like a little bit of sandpaper on the edge. So that was that one. Then I thought, oh, I have other playing cards, but these are cool because I want to see the actual playing cards. So the little ones with the smiley faces on them, I didn't think they were very pretty. They were very kid looking, and I've had them for a long time, and it's fine. You know, they were fine to use, and I covered it up and it was cool. But this one, because it was an actual playing card, and there are so many of those, you know, challenges with playing cards where you leave a little bit of corner of the playing card so that you know what it is, I decided to leave a little bit on mine. So this one, you can see that they were playing cards, and this one I did 6 on. So you can see that they were playing cards. So the other side of those, this is just vintage newspaper. I didn't put anything back there. If somebody wanted to write on it, they could. I just thought it was a cute little, you know, look at the playing cards. You could certainly go ahead and put something on it to write on, to make it more journaling card. Can't even think of what I'm trying to say. To make it more like a journaling card. So you could put some lined paper, just coffee dyed paper, something blank on the back. I had this on the back, so I wanted to cover it. So I used this vintage newspaper. This is 1940s, early 1940s, World War II era newspaper. So that's what's on the back here. And it's kind of fun to read the prices of some of the things, right? Asparagus, fancy, fresh, and tender, was 19 cents a pound. And snow white cauliflower, large heads, were 39 cents. So it's kind of fun. I think that's just fun to read those. And then on the front, these are images that I had printed quite a while back from one of the websites that helps you identify copyright-free public domain images. So these are botanical images that were public domain. They're listed as public domain. And there are several websites that let you do that. If you Google them, you can choose one. And so these are things that I had downloaded and printed onto book page. So you can see there's that one's flower. These were a couple larger images that I sort of tore apart into the pieces so that I could put them all on here. So the butterfly, this is the stalk of this flower was the rest of this. There's another one. So there's just some butterflies and plants and stuff that I had printed on book page. And then I just tore them out and put them on here. And I had already covered part of the card, leaving the number visible, with a dictionary page that I had painted gold previously that I was just in my stash. So I just covered with those. And then I inked up, I kind of grunged it up a little bit so it wasn't quite so white. You can see how it's kind of shiny and white. So with the Distress ink, it just kind of grunged it up a little bit. And I added those decorations. So any, whatever you want, whatever looks good to you is what you should put on. So I thought this one was fun. It reminded me of playing cards and having something fancy. So that was my playing card. And I thought, well, gosh, what do I have that's maybe bigger than that? And so I was rummaging through and I found these. It's a paint sample. It's a paint chip from, I don't know, one of the big hardware stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, maybe Walmart, but I'm not sure. Allen and Roth, it might be. It's either Home Depot or Lowe's. Oh, it says Lowe's right there. Should have looked at it, huh? Okay. Anyway, so these are paint chips from Valspar Paint at Lowe's. So you can go grab those. And so what I did with those is I thought, well, they might make a fun set as well. And larger would be, something bigger that I could put in maybe a notebook. And I had several of those that I had accumulated from when we were repainting last year, and I was thinking about that. So I left the color so you could see what it was. I wanted to be able to see what it was, but I did use a piece of sandpaper and kind of sanded off some of the shininess, and you can still see the names of the colors. And then I put some ink on there, and I kind of rubbed it around. There was some paint on my desk and stuff, so I just kind of let it get a little grungy. And so these were kind of sprayed with a little bit of ink and got a little paint on them. But you can see each one still has the name there a little bit. So I just grungied them up so that they wouldn't look quite so shiny and new. And they're just spattered. I put some Distress ink around the edges. And then again, you can see where I just picked up pieces of paint that were on here. On the front, I have some birds. On the front of the card, you can kind of see a little bit of the card through it. I painted a really thin coat of gesso mixed with a little bit of yellow. So I had a little bit of yellow acrylic and some gesso, and I painted it across. And then I stamped the lettering in the background. And then I used a stencil and did these kind of feather designs. So these are thinner, and you can tell that they curved a little bit on me because I put a lot of wet stuff on them. The gesso was wet and made them curve a little bit with the paint. And then when I stenciled on them with more paint, that's acrylic paint. So if I were going to actually put these in a journal, which I'm not sure, I might at some point. Right now, they're probably just going to go in my stash of stuff that's done. If I were going to put them in a journal, I would definitely put some books or something on top of them to weigh them down and flatten them back out a little bit. So that might be a thing to do. And then I just went through my stash of, I like birds, and so I have some where I had kind of doodled some different birds. And so I just cut out some of the birds I doodled and put them on here, since I had they're actually feather designs that I stenciled back there, but it almost looks like palm trees, I think. So I had doodled some small ones and then some bigger ones. And then on the front of this, I used some fabric paint, that kind of plasticky fabric paint to just outline him and give him a little bit of dimension. So remember, since you're putting them together and they have to fit on top of each other, you don't want to put something like fabric paint on these underneath, because it might stick a little bit, and it's also going to kind of bulk it up. It's not going to slide very easily. Oop, I skipped one in there, didn't I? That one. So decorate the front so that there's texture if you want to, but make the inside ones smoother, okay? So this one you can see, since I got it a little wet, I'm probably going to have to do something about flattening that out. Okay, then I decided that I wanted something round, and the only thing that I had that was kind of round was this, which is pretty round. So I just have these little paper doilies, this little pack of doilies that I got at a secondhand store for like $1. So there's just a little pack of them. And I thought they would be fun to decorate too. And so this is much more in the vein of what Pam at the Paper Outpost did, because she had round, although hers were just punched from book pages. So I went with the round, and again, I backed them because it's just a doily. It was very thin, so I didn't think I could just decorate that and have that pull out, and there's some texture on the back anyway. I kind of thought they might stick to each other. So I backed them with some coffee dyed notebook paper, and then I grunged that up a little more with some gold ink, and I went around the edges and I grunged it a little. So I think the edges might be green. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I used maybe the peeled paint for the edges, and then I kind of smushed around maybe a little bit of gold, and I smushed around where I was going to put the brad through. So you can see by this time I had found my small silver brad, so I didn't have to cut this one. So that's the back on these, is just that. So I just started by gluing these onto the paper and then cutting around them. And you can see there's a lot of really, ruffly edge here that I did not cut. When I cut, I just kind of cut it flatter. And then when I went back with the ink, the Distress ink, oh, my cat's deciding to play with some of my stuff over here. When I went back with the Distress ink, it kind of highlighted all of that stuff. So you can kind of see that I stamped some lettering on there, and we're going to use that stamp on the one we're going to do today as well. Stop it. She's a little thief. So I stamped on it to make it look like there was maybe book page behind it, but there's not. And then these, if you were with me on, not sure it was the last video, a couple videos ago, I showed you how to use your cheapy water-based markers to get a watercolor effect on some book pages. And so these were the ones we made with that, and I can link that video down below as well. Kid, oh, she just decided to knock something off, and I think she's probably going to swipe it. So the mushrooms I had made in that video, or showed how to make them in that video. I used them as an example. So this is the kind of thing we're going to do today. So now that I've showed you all of those different examples, we're going to use this doily. So I thought it would be fun. I'm getting ready to start a Valentine's Day journal. And so I wanted to do something that I could put in a pocket of that journal. And so I decided to use these. Again, they're something that I've just had in my stash for quite a while. I think I bought the little package of them at one of the dollar stores, probably Dollar Tree or 99 cents only, someplace like that, where there's a little package of them. So we're going to use those. The only thing that I have done to them already is I went ahead and backed them on some cardstock so that we wouldn't have to wait for them to dry. Otherwise, because of all the little holes and stuff, it takes a few minutes for them to dry, And so I just glued them down onto a piece of cardstock and then just cut around the cardstock. So they're ready to decorate, but that's the only thing I have done. I did use on these, because there's so much open work, I did use some spray glue that I happened to have when I was cleaning out my glue. I just reorganized my studio at the end of the year, at the end of December. And so I found things that I didn't realize I had, including a partial can of spray glue and things like that. So I took it outside and did the spray glue. And that seems to be working really well for all of the little nooks and crannies on it, but it was kind of sticky to start with, so it really needed to dry. Now that it's dry, it's not sticky, but it really needed to dry first. So that's why I went ahead and did those. So here's my thought. So I thought I would use some more of that newspaper. I was looking through and I found these ads for wedding ring sets, engagement rings, right? Wedding sets. And I thought, wouldn't that be fun? So I'm going to put those on the back, I think. And then on the front, I thought I would put the words "my love" in multiple languages. So you can see I have one here in German. This was Portuguese. That one, mi amore, is Spanish, right? Amore mio is Italian, and mon amour is French, right? So I won't even try the German and the Portuguese. So I have these tiny, tiny little tags that were part of a little package of tags that, again, I bought at a thrift store for like 50 cents. So we're going to grunge those up a little bit, and we're going to put those on the front, and then we're going to put the wedding rings on the back. But they do need to be grunged up a little bit and have something interesting done to them. So I'm going to start by stamping some lettering across it. This is the same stamp I used on a couple of the ones I already showed you. So I used two different from this set. This is from Stampers Anonymous, and it's called the Reflection Set. And the words are backwards. So when you stamp it, it's still backwards, which is kind of cool, I think, because I really don't want to be able to read a bunch of stuff. I mean, you can if you carefully read it. You can read the words. So this one has a dictionary definition about imagination. Right? This one I can't read at all. But this is from the Tim Holtz collection, and I'm going to use this one. So let me pull that out here, because I think it's just nice and romantic looking. So that's the one we're going to use. So even when you stamp it, it's backwards. So I thought it might be fun to stamp. We're going to stamp the front and the back, but I thought we might stamp the back in like gold to see, see how that might look. So I'm thinking something gold would be pretty on this dark background. So since we have such a dark red, it's kind of a maroony, I thought it might look nice with the gold on it. So I don't have a block big enough to stick this on. So we'll just try to make it work. Oh, isn't that pretty with the gold? Put one more. And the stamp pad I'm using is a Color Box opaque pigment stamp pad. Most of the stuff I have, I did not necessarily buy. A lot of it I got either from a friend as a gift, or I know a couple of people who cleaned out craft rooms and sent stuff over because they know that I am kind of a hoarder. so they send me stuff. So I have things, oops, maybe I already should have I mean, it's okay, it's faded, but I liked it better when I reloaded the gold. So a lot of what I have is several years old, but it still seems to function pretty well. Re-ink that a little bit. Probably should be doing this out on the paper part, huh? So that I'm not getting it all over my mat here, but oh well. If we get a little gold on the front, no big deal. A little gold ink never hurt anything. I'm always up for gold, so. Drop it. Oh well. It's a good thing we're trying to grunge it up. Right. I think I'm going to use the same stamp on the front, but I don't think I'm going to use gold. I think I'm going to use either red or black. I was thinking it might be fun to use red, but in plain black I'm sure would look good on the pink. Maybe we'll stamp one in black and stamp one in red on that doily over there to see how it looks. Okay, so there's that done. Let me grab my rag. Of course, I put it way over there. Hello, Gomez. So my cat has decided to come help. Attaboy, scoot over, buddy. Just want to make sure I'm not gonna get this on anything, so. Okay, so let's try. Here's the one I had. Let's see how it would look with red. I don't know. I probably should have cleaned the gold off, but alas. All right. I don't have as big of a stamp pad as I do for the gold. So let's try it in red just to see how it looks. Just curious. Well, that's kind of neat looking. And it looks like it goes with the back, doesn't it? Okay, so I think we'll stick to the red. I don't think I even want to stamp the black because I don't care. I like the red. All right, so let's flip them over and see if we can stamp some red. Let's see, this is nothing. This doesn't have anything on it, so it looks like it's just a plain, ordinary kind of stamp pad. It doesn't even have a brand or anything on it, so heaven only knows where I got it. Oh yeah, see, that's kind of cool. I like it in the red. And since this is Valentine-y, definitely want that Valentine's Day vibe. So the journal that I'm getting ready to make, the Valentine journal, which is probably going to be my next bigger project, I think is going to have like a love letter theme. So this will be right in keeping with that. So it'll be really cool. I can stick this in one of the pockets. Do you make a lot of ephemera before you start making a journal? Do you have a theme in mind when you make things, or do you just make stuff and then kind of create a journal to go with it later? I tend to just sort of make things. I like recurring themes. I like flowers and mushrooms and birds and things like that. So I tend to have a lot of things with those, with that theme on it, but let me know in the comments below how you guys like to go. Do you like to plan a journal and then make ephemera ahead of time? Do you make the journal first and then ephemera to go in it? Do you make whatever ephemera kind of strikes your fancy at the time and just have an eclectic mix in your journals, which is totally fine. I like that too. I tend to make more themed things for my shop, but for myself, I tend to like more eclectic things. So I think I go both ways there. I really like this red on top of the pink. Just kind of adds some nice dimension to it, I think. All right. So that one didn't quite. There we go. All right, now that I've made a mess of that, I will have to clean that off later. See, I'm rubbing this like it's gonna come off, but I know better. Oh well. Que sera. So let's, shall we do the front side? Let's go ahead and do the front side. So I think I'm gonna kind of grunge up the edges a little bit. And I don't think the red was gonna show up on there. So I think I'm gonna use Vintage Photo just to give me a little more contrast around the edge. I think hopefully it'll show up on the pink side. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. All right, so that should do that, I think. I've seen like some bigger brushes and stuff that are really nice, but I have these cute little daubers that my husband gave me, and I have one for each color. But you can see they just kind of stick on your finger, and it's just a little spongy kind of thing on the end. I don't know, it just says value pack. I have no clue where he got them, but I like them. They make nice little inks, especially for the small set. I have the very small set of the Distress inks. He bought me the can, and then he bought me the little ones because I wanted lots of colors, so it was more important to me to have lots of colors instead of lots of ink. So that was kind of, let's see, I think he got that for me Christmas, not this past Christmas, but a year ago. So, all right, while we've got our Distress ink out, let's grunge up these little tags a little bit. Maybe even just a little. Okay, those are done. Set that aside. All right. Let's stick those on top. And I think because we're going to put something more on the back, I don't know that I want to put too much on the front. The question is really where. We're going to attach down here, so it's going to fan. So maybe we just want to put them up in the corner up there. Haven't done that on one yet. So I think I kind of like leaving it so you can see kind of the smudged red ink and looks more, looks a little older, more Valentine-y. I did think about putting some other images there, but it is the front, and one of the things that I noticed on the others is if I put images on the front of all the cards, which I did on all of them, that I lost part of the image. Sometimes because of the way it fanned out. So I thought I'd try this one. If I get it together and it doesn't look very good, we can always add an image to the front later. But I was thinking something a little bit different because I want to put those newspaper things on the back. So definitely have this pretty back. And then we have these. I love this. This ring set is $125. This one's a $900 ring. So that's the most expensive one. And it's much more expensive. Look at some of these. There's $150 for this one. This is, again, that 1940s World War II era newspaper. $200 for this set. Charge account, budget plan, easily arranged. Here's a little one for $62.50. It's got a little diamond in the middle, maybe. $49.50. And look at the other side. This is fun. Tennis shoes. And you don't have to use your ration coupons. We'll see, part of this came from a different, right, so for gym and sportswear, these tennis shoes, right? Boy sizes, $2.30, and they're ration free. You don't have to use your ration tickets for them. So super cute. And then on the back of this one, look at some of these. This is fun. A 5-pound jar, of Caro syrup was 33 cents. I just think that's really cool, right? A pint bottle of grape juice was 18 cents. Of course, I know, when you adjust for inflation and wages and everything, but it's kind of amazing to look at some of those things. All right, so we need 5. Want those 2. 3. 4. I think we'll skip the one that's 900 because it's kind of odd man out, but all right. I'm just going to kind of tear around these, but I think I want the price to stay on there. I think I'd like to see, because I think that's part of what's fun about it is, if we can fit it on there, right? It just seems fun to look back. Not that it was fun to live during World War II, because I'm sure it was not. But it's definitely fun to look at some of the prices and things. I'm not doing a very good job of tearing these today. Let's see. When my husband and I first got married, we were broke, as many people are when they first get married. And we went down, I can remember we lived in a small town. We lived in Kingman, Arizona. We were both teachers. We hadn't been teaching very long, either of us, and we didn't have much money. And we went to the local JCPenney's. There were only a couple of places in Kingman that you could buy a wedding ring. And of course, that's not something you wanted to order, right? So we went to JCPenney's and we bought probably the most inexpensive pair of 10-karat gold wedding rings that they had. And certainly it was fine. His actually broke later. He broke his ring, but they replaced it. They actually replaced his ring, which I thought was kind of cool. We sent it to them, and they replaced it. So, and then many years later, for our 10th anniversary, we bought some matching wedding rings, and then we bought some nicer ones, and renewed our vows, and then eventually arthritis set into my hands and I couldn't get my ring on, so he bought me a different ring for our 25th anniversary, which is the ring I wear now, but for 25th anniversary. But that was, I still have the other rings, and I just can't bring myself to part with them. I don't know, maybe, maybe someday my daughter will want it. See, I put that away, and now I'm thinking I should grunge these up a little bit, although, there it is, vintage photo. Although, they are actual vintage pieces, so I don't want to do too much to them, but I would like to just kind of set off the edges a little bit. Yeah, that gives it just a little more definition against that background. So, it's funny, all the stories that many of us have about our wedding rings, or not rings. Nowadays, lots of people don't even wear rings. They don't want them. I was thinking about, actually, I don't always put my ring on. I actually have been out doing something else today, and so my ring happens to be on. I usually take it off before I come down to the studio because I'm always afraid I'm going to get paint or ink or something on it. And of course, it'll clean off if I do. But I was contemplating buying one of the silicone rings. Have you seen those that are just kind of silicone, and they're formed so you don't have them sized or anything, you just buy the size, but they're kind of stretchy, rubbery kind of, which would be good on days when my knuckles are too swollen to get rings on. And it would also be good because then if I got paint or something on them, it wouldn't be a big deal. But I don't know. I just, it's hard to go buy a different ring, isn't it? You get used to wearing a ring, and you think that one's your ring, and so that's kind of it. Here we go. I'm thinking these are just going to be a little more simple than some of the other ones that I did. Sometimes simple is better. Could have definitely put some lace or something behind these, but like I said, I think they're just going to go in a little tuck spot in a journal. So it'd just be something fun to look at. I really don't want to detract from, got a little bit of glue under there, I can feel it. I don't really want to detract from the, the rings, because I think looking at the vintage rings and the prices that went with them is definitely the fun part here. Okay, so I think if we're going to leave them kind of plain, which I think maybe this set we will, done some that were not, we're ready then to poke a hole in the middle. Maybe we should decorate the one that's going to be on the front. Does it matter what order they go in, do you think? Let's see. There's Italian, French, Portuguese. We'll put the German one on top. What do you think? Just because it's maybe a little different. Okay, so then we're ready to poke a hole in those and put them together. So let me grab my crocodile here. So I have the nice big one. I got this one for Christmas a couple years ago from my hubby, who definitely supports my art addiction, I guess. So I've got it on the smallest little hole punch, and we need to decide, do I want it, where do you think? Do we want it here? I think that's a little too close to the edge. I think maybe right up here would probably be a good idea. Right about there. So we've got our hole punch. And then I guess if we wanted to put something maybe on the front one and not on the other ones, that might be okay. Might put a flower or something there, but we'll go ahead and put them together so we can kind of get a feel for how they look. Of course, I've moved them apart. So just laced my little brad through here. Turn it this way a little bit. So let's see how they fan out. Let's see, if we fan them this way, we can just see the word "my love" on all of them. That's kind of sweet, isn't it? I don't know, maybe I don't want to put anything on that one. I think I kind of like it just the way it is. And then on the back, we can see the rings, and we can look at each of them. See if we covered up the price on any of them. Doesn't look like we did. Looks like we can see it all. All right. This one's a little, the gold's a little faded there, but I think it's okay. All right, so there we have it. And we had all those other ones too. So that one's going into a Valentine journal I'm making. And then heaven only knows what I'll do with the rest of these, but maybe I'll send them out in Happy Mail. I think that would be something good to do with them. Send them in Happy Mail, give them to your friends for Valentine's Day. I think that would be a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to make. They're a pretty quick and easy project, so you get a lot of satisfaction because you can finish it pretty fast. So, I hope you'll give it a try. Hope you'll watch Pam's video where she talks about, using the book pages and consolidating those to make like a little notebook, because that's certainly worth a watch. So I think that's all for today. I hope you've had a good time with me here. If you have, please hit the subscribe button. That really means a lot to me. I hope to see you again. Remember, use what you have to make your life more beautiful. Bye.